Picture this. You're in a room. Everyone's talking. Egos clashing. Someone's trying to dominate the conversation, throwing their weight around with words. And then there's you. Quiet. Calm. Observing. And somehow, without saying a single word, you know exactly what's happening. You can see through what people are hiding. You can sense when someone's lying. You can feel the moment the room's energy shifts before anyone else even notices. The crazy part? People start respecting you more because you speak less. That's not weakness. That's Stoic power. Most men think they need to be loud to be heard, aggressive to be respected, talkative to be taken seriously. Wrong. Dead wrong. The ancient Stoics, the guys who built empires, survived poverty, faced death without flinching, they knew something we've forgotten. Silence is the most underrated weapon in human interaction. Today, I'm breaking down 8 specific ways to outsmart anyone, outread anyone, and gain genuine influence without ever raising your voice. And the first one is going to shake how you see conversations forever. Point number 1. The veil of silence. Let them reveal themselves. Let me tell you what happens when you stop filling every silence. Imagine you're negotiating something important, a salary conversation, a conflict resolution. Someone's asking you a question, and normally your instinct is to jump in, explain, defend, talk. But what if you did something different? What if you just paused? Let the silence sit there. Here's what actually happens. People hate empty space. Psychologically, silence triggers discomfort. So what do? They fill it. And when they fill it, they reveal. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoics ever, said something brutal. Be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in a few words. He wasn't saying stay quiet because you're weak. He was saying stay quiet because it's a superpower. Think about a real scenario. You're in a negotiation. The other person makes an offer. It's not great. Your old self would immediately counteroffer, explain why it's not enough, talk about how much value you bring. You'd convince yourself you were winning. But a Stoic trained man, he just looks at them, nods slowly, says nothing. The other person gets uncomfortable. They think, wait, is he not interested? So they add more, better terms. They over-explain their position, revealing their true bottom line, their desperation, their limits. You won without saying a word. Seneca observed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you stay silent, the other person's imagination runs wild. They fill the void with their own fears, insecurities, doubts. The veil of silence not just protects you, it reveals them. Next time you're in a conversation and you feel the urge to fill a silence, don't. Let them talk. Let them reveal. Watch what comes out. Point number 2. Unyielding detachment, the unshakable response. Now let's talk about something that terrifies people, a man who can't be moved. Detachment sounds cold. It's not. It's the opposite. It's complete freedom. Here's the scene. Someone's trying to provoke you. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's personal. They're raising their voice, getting emotional, trying to push your buttons. And what do they expect? An equal reaction. Anger for anger, defensiveness for attack. But what do? You just stay calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that changed how I see everything. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He wasn't talking about suppressing emotion. He was talking about not letting outside things control your inner state. So when someone attacks, criticizes, or tries to bait you, their words are external. Their anger is external. The only thing in your control is whether you let it move you. A detached man is a dangerous man. Not in a violent way. Dangerous because he can't be played. Imagine someone's fury. They're escalating, expecting you to match their energy so they can feel justified in their anger. But you just nod calmly. Maybe you take a breath. Your posture doesn't change. Your voice doesn't waver. What happens? They run out of fuel. They start to doubt themselves. Why isn't he reacting? Am I not getting through? Is he stronger than me? Their own provocation becomes their own defeat. Epictetus said, "No one can make you feel anything without your consent." That's detachment. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about your own peace more than you care about their attempt to disturb it. When someone can't shake you, you've won the interaction before it started. Point number 3, sharpened observation. Read what nobody else sees. While everyone else is talking, the Stoic man is watching, and what he sees changes everything. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said something most people miss. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Therefore, we should listen twice as much as we speak. This isn't about being polite. This is about gathering intelligence. Here's what most people do. They're so busy talking about themselves, proving their point, defending their position, that they miss what's actually happening in front of them. But if you're quiet, if you're observing, you start to notice things. A person's hands fidgeting, that's stress or dishonesty. Their eyes darting away, shame or evasion. A forced smile that doesn't reach their eyes, fake, they're hiding something. The way someone leans in when they talk about one topic but pulls back on another, that tells you what they actually care about. Seneca warned that silence teaches us things we need to know. Observation, real observation, is a skill. Most people never develop it because they're too busy talking. Let me give you a real example. You're in a meeting, multiple people pitching ideas. One guy is eloquent, confident, uses big words, but if you're really watching, you notice his jaw tightens when someone asks a critical question. His hands go in his pockets. His voice gets slightly higher. Translation: he's not as confident as he seems. The other person, quieter, less flashy, uses simpler language, but when defending his idea, his voice stays steady. His body language opens. His eyes hold contact. Translation: he believes what he's saying. If you're just listening to words, you might pick the first guy. If you're observing, truly observing, you pick the second. This applies to everything: relationships, business, social dynamics. People reveal their truth through 1,000 tiny signals: tone, posture, breath, micro-expressions, the pause before they answer. The Stoic observer sees all of it. And once you see it, you can't be lied to. You can't be manipulated, because you're reading the actual person, not the words they're performing. Point number 4, profound composure. Project the unshakable center. There's a specific kind of presence that changes how people treat you. It's not charisma. It's not confidence in the loud sense. It's something deeper: unshakable composure. Seneca said the body should be treated more rigorously so that it will not be disobedient to the mind. What he meant was, if you can control your physical presence, your mind follows, and people feel it. Think about this. 2 men walk into a room, same height, same build, same credentials. One is nervous, fidgeting, talking too much, laughing at his own jokes. The other is still, breathes slowly, speaks deliberately, makes eye contact without trying. Everyone gravitates to the second man. Why? Because calmness is rare. Everyone else is running on anxiety and stimulation. The moment they encounter actual peace, actual centeredness, it's magnetic. This is what composure does. It projects an invisible wall. People sense that you're not desperate, not needy, not trying to convince them of anything. You just exist, solidly. When someone's trying to provoke you and they encounter this wall, this unshakable calm, they hit a force they don't understand. They expect a reaction and get silence. They expect doubt and get certainty. It unsettles them, in the best way. Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. As emperor, he was surrounded by people trying to manipulate him, control him, get reactions from him. His power wasn't in what he said, it was in his unwavering presence. Here's how you build it. Slow your breath. Sit still when you want to fidget. Speak less when you want to fill silence. Make people wait for your words instead of rushing them. After days of this, weeks of this, months of this, it becomes real. Your nervous system actually calms. Your presence actually shifts. And suddenly people listen differently, respect differently. They treat you differently because they're reading the actual man, not the performance. Point number 5, subtle gratitude, the invisible network builder. Here's a secret about influence that nobody teaches. Acknowledgement is more powerful than recognition. Epictetus said something that still blows my mind. Be silent as to services you have rendered, but speak of favors you have received. What he's saying is, never brag about what you've done for people, but always acknowledge what others have done for you. Most people do the opposite. They announce their contributions, diminish others' help, position themselves as the hero. But a Stoic plays a different game. He sees someone help him. Instead of broadcasting it, he notices it, really sees it, and with a quiet nod, a knowing look, maybe a simple "I appreciate that," he honors it. Here's what this does. It creates actual reciprocal bonds. Most people network by talking about themselves, proving their value, making impressions. It's exhausting and transparent. But when you quietly acknowledge people's contributions, without needing credit, without making it about you, something shifts. They feel genuinely seen, not used, not networked, actually seen. And that loyalty is real, not transactional. Imagine a team project. Everyone works on it. At the end, instead of the loud guy taking credit and the quiet guy getting nothing, you do something different. You acknowledge each person's specific contribution to them, privately, not for show. The guy who made a small but crucial suggestion, you tell him, that pivot you suggested, that's what made this work. The person who handled the details, the organization you brought, nobody notices that, but it's everything. These people now work harder for you next time, not because you manipulated them, because you actually saw them. This is how Stoics build networks, invisibly, ethically, powerfully. Years later, when you need something, these people show up, not because they owe you, because they respect you. Point number 6, premeditative reflection. Master fear before it masters you. Most people react to life. Stoics prepare for it. There's a Stoic practice called premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. It sounds depressing. It's actually liberating. Here's how it works. Before something happens, you imagine it going wrong, completely wrong, your worst scenario, and you sit with that fear until it becomes manageable. Seneca observed that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. He wasn't saying don't worry. He was saying stop letting your imagination be random. Control it. Let me explain with a real example. You have a difficult conversation coming up. Performance review, confrontation, maybe a rejection. Your mind's already spinning worst-case scenarios. But instead of running from that, what if you leaned into it? You sit down, quietly, and you imagine it, the worst possible outcome. They say everything you fear. They reject you. They criticize you harshly. And then you imagine yourself responding, not reacting, responding, calmly with dignity, accepting what you can't control and acting on what you can. You're not being pessimistic, you're training. The moment the actual conversation happens, you've already lived it mentally. You've rehearsed your response. You know you can survive it. And that changes everything. You walk into situations with clarity instead of panic, with strategy instead of desperation. Marcus Aurelius did this constantly. As emperor, he faced loss, betrayal, death, war. In his journal, he repeatedly imagined these things, not to depress himself, but to master his response to them. When they happened in reality, he wasn't blindsided, he was prepared. This is why Stoic men are dangerous. They've already fought the battle internally. The external one is just execution. The question isn't, what if this goes wrong? The question is, if it goes wrong, who will I be? And you decide that in advance. Point number 7. Attentive listening. Turn words into intelligence. Listening is not just hearing. Real listening is gathering. Zeno said, better to trip with the feet than trip with the tongue. What he meant, it's less damaging to physically fall than to fall through your words. Most men don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. They're formulating responses while the other person's still speaking. They're thinking about how they'll win the argument, not understanding what's actually being said. But a Stoic listens completely. Here's what happens when you actually listen. Someone's telling you about their struggle. Instead of jumping in with advice or solutions, you just listen. You ask clarifying questions. You let them fully express. And in that space, they reveal things, their real fears, their actual priorities, what they actually need. Most people miss this because they're too busy performing understanding instead of actually understanding. Think about your last few conversations. How many times did someone tell you something important while you were already planning your response? How much did you actually miss because you were thinking about yourself? A Stoic reverses this. He becomes a mirror. People talk to him and feel heard. And when they feel heard, they open up further. In business, this is devastating. You learn what your competitors are actually doing, what your colleagues actually think, what your customers actually need. In relationships, this creates actual intimacy. Instead of performing connection, you have connection. Epictetus taught that wisdom comes through listening, not speaking. The more you listen, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more adaptable you become. This is why quiet men often end up leading. They understand the actual situation, not the story they told themselves about it. So here's the practice. In your next conversation, try to make it a game. Try to listen without planning your response. Ask genuine questions. Let silence exist. Notice what you actually hear when you stop trying to be heard. Point number 8. Emotional neutrality. Transcend the game entirely. This is the final level, and it changes everything. Emotional neutrality doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let emotions make decisions for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." He wasn't saying suppress anger. He was saying when someone attacks, your silence reveals their weakness and your strength. Here's the thing about emotions. Everyone's playing with them. Guilt, shame, fear, pride, these are the buttons society teaches us to press. Someone attacks you, your pride kicks in. You have to defend. They use guilt, you feel obligated. They show anger, you match it. It's all predictable. It's all a game. But what happens when you step out of the game? Imagine someone's trying to provoke you, insult, criticism, personal attack. Your old self would react, defend, counterattack, get emotional. But emotionally neutral you just observe. Interesting, they're trying to move me. I wonder why they feel the need to do that. You're no longer a player in their game. You're the observer, the analyst. And from that position, nothing can touch you. Seneca warned that we're slaves to our reactions until we master them. Once you master your reactions, once you decide that no external event will determine your internal state, you're free. And freedom is the ultimate power. A man who can't be moved is a man who can't be controlled. He can't be manipulated. He can't be played. This is what Stoicism builds toward, not dominance over others, but mastery over yourself. And in that mastery, actual influence is born. Not through aggression, through authenticity. Not through manipulation, through integrity. Not through words, through presence. So here's what we've covered. The veil of silence, unyielding detachment, sharpened observation, profound composure, subtle gratitude, premeditative reflection, attentive listening, emotional neutrality. 8 Stoic powers that don't require words, don't require aggression, don't require dominance, just presence, just discipline, just mastery. And the crazy part? When you actually practice these, you stop trying to outsmart people. You stop trying to win conversations. You stop needing to prove yourself. You just become real, and real is more powerful than any tactic. The ancient Stoics weren't trying to manipulate anyone. They were trying to free themselves, and in that freedom, they naturally commanded respect. So here's your assignment. Pick one of these 8, just one. Tomorrow, in your next interaction, apply it. Not to manipulate, to observe, to learn, to master yourself. Maybe it's silence, maybe it's composure, maybe it's genuine listening. Notice what changes. Comment below which principle you're going to test. If this hits something real in you, subscribe. This channel is about becoming the kind of man people naturally respect, not because of words, but because of presence. Stay disciplined, stay grounded, stay stoic.